We just saw the Brooklyn Nets make their second major trade in a few weeks by sending Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton to the LA Lakers in exchange for D'Angelo Russell and 3 second-round picks that are in 2027, 2030, and 2031. This is the second time in his career that D'Angelo Russell got traded by the LA Lakers to the Brooklyn Nets, and the dominoes are starting to fall in NBA trade season. Back in 2017, Brooklyn received D'Angelo Russell and Timothy Mozgov in a salary dump from the Lakers in exchange for Brook Lopez and the 27th pick in that 2017 draft, which the Lakers used on Kyle Kuzma. D'Angelo Russell has pretty much been in trade rumors ever since he re-signed with the Lakers after they acquired him from the Minnesota Timberwolves at the 2022 trade deadline. He opted into the last year of his contract in the offseason, but has been on the trade block since that because of his tradable salary. And after averaging 18 points per game this season and shooting 41% from three last year, Russell has struggled this season under first-year head coach JJ Redick, averaging just 12.4 points per game on 41.5% from the field and 33% from three, and he was recently pulled out of the starting lineup as well by head coach JJ Redick. Dorian Finney-Smith is 31 years old, a few years older than D'Angelo Russell, and he's averaging 10.4 points per game this season while shooting a career-high 43% from three. And Dorian Finney-Smith becomes a player that can accommodate the Lakers' needs. So far this year, the Lakers have been noticeably better on the offensive end than the defensive end, as the Lakers are currently 11th in offensive rating in the NBA with 113.5, and with a defensive rating of 115.6, they're in the bottom 10. They are 21st in the NBA in terms of defensive rating, which pretty much tanks their net rating to be 20th out of 30 teams in the NBA. So this Dorian Finney-Smith acquisition is going to help the Lakers on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, they're going to be sacrificing a little bit of offense with D'Angelo Russell, but they feel like they're going to get enough out of Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and some of the other complementary pieces to LeBron and AD to offset that load. Shake Milton is a replacement level player at best. He's a shoot-first guard whose minimum contract money is not guaranteed after this season. The key to the deal for the Lakers is obviously Dorian Finney-Smith, who's been a credible stretch four or even a small ball center. He's one of the few players this year that is able to guard multiple positions on the floor. And the Lakers have coveted a player like Dorian Finney-Smith for years, somebody that could be a 3-and-D wing, and these are the players that they've been trying to build around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They don't need to have the ball in their hands on the offensive end, but they can knock down an open three or two, but they can just help them guard multiple positions on the floor, and that's what Finney-Smith can do, and the price was reasonable. I thought at one point Dorian Finney-Smith could have gone for a first-round pick, but after we saw Dennis Schroeder get traded to Golden State, mainly for second-rounders, it felt like Finney-Smith, who was having not as good of a season offensively than Dennis Schroeder, was actually going to go for a little bit less. In terms of draft pick, he did go for more because he went for 3 second-round picks in this deal compared to what Dennis Schroeder went to Golden State, but this is still exactly what the Lakers wanted to do. They wanted to acquire role players to put around AD and LeBron and not have to sacrifice their 2029 or 2031 first-round picks because they can leverage those in a bigger deal down the line. You really don't want to sacrifice one of these first-round picks for who knows what you could be in those years for somebody like Dorian Finney-Smith, who is 31 years old. He could be a free agent at the end of the year. So being able to bring in DFS to LA on this price was more than manageable for the LA Lakers front office. And there is something to note because the Lakers are trading their 2031 second-round pick in this deal. They can't lottery protect their 2031 first-round pick because if they trade it since it now, and also something to note here, because the Lakers are trading their 2031 second-round pick, they can't lottery protect their 2031 first-round pick if they try to trade it since it now can't convey into a future second. And yeah, losing D'Angelo Russell is going to hurt the Lakers bench scoring unit because obviously it has been up and down with that unit all year long. Max Christie was somebody the Lakers had a lot of expectations for. He got off to a slow start this season, but has been much better over his last couple of games against Sacramento, where he had 16 points, against Golden State, where he also had 16 points on Christmas Day, and against Detroit, where he had 17 points as well. He's been much better as of late, and the Lakers are capitalizing on his three-point shooting surge. Austin Reeves has been very good over his last few games as well. He's now up to almost 18 points per game on the season, and he's shooting 36% from three. I think somebody that's likely to go in a deal next is going to be Gabe Vincent, and Vincent also has a tradable contract out there as well. I'm intrigued to see if the Lakers are willing to trade away their 2029 or 2031 first, if it has a light protection, if any, on it to get a big name at this year's deadline, or they're going to be conservative with their trades, and it's going to be a couple of these Dorian Finney-Smith type level moves, where maybe they're moving a young player, maybe they're moving a couple more second round picks, and they won't trade that 2029 or 2031 first, because I do think those have some value around the league. I think if you're a team like Utah, willing to trade away Colin Sexton or some of their veterans, or maybe if you're Portland or Washington, or even the Nets again with Cam Johnson, I would be intrigued in acquiring those first round picks from the Lakers, because LeBron is 40 years old now. He's probably not going to be in the NBA in 2030, but who knows at this point? Anthony Davis is getting up there in age. Will they even be good then? Who knows? And honestly, I think those are good, valuable first round picks. We saw San Antonio basically just trade the 8th overall pick in the 2024 draft to get an unknown 2030 pick from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So teams are incentivized to acquire these first round picks down the line just because of the unknown in the National Basketball League. Dorian Finney-Smith also becomes the Lakers' best high volume 3-point shooter. The Lakers pretty much only have 2 players, LeBron James and Austin Reeves, attempting more than 5 threes per game, and neither is shooting above 36.3%. Dorian Finney-Smith is shooting 43.3% this year on catch and shoot threes, 48.1% on open threes, and 42.5% on wide open threes. He's shooting around 37% on corner threes, the type the Lakers often generate for their wings, and 45.5% from above the break. In addition to his defensive versatility, Finney-Smith brings a level of toughness and physicality the Lakers have needed. And their coach JJ Redick has often said that the group isn't as physical as it should be throughout the season, and Finney-Smith helps change that dynamic, who's also played in big playoff games in his career, most notably in that 2022 Western Conference Finals with the Dallas Mavericks. And it's also cool that JJ Redick briefly played with Finney-Smith at the end of his career with the Dallas Mavericks in 2021, and he's been a noted fan of Dorian Finney-Smith. He even tweeted about him back in May of 2022. How can you not love DFS? And I'm intrigued to see how the Lakers orchestrate their starting 5 after this trade, because their current starting wings, Rui Hachimura and Max Christie, have been playing well as they've won 6 out of their last 8 games. And Finney-Smith has pretty much been a full-time starter for the last 4 years in the NBA. And I wonder if this trade would move Max Christie to the bench, because I don't think the Lakers acquired Finney-Smith to have him come off the bench. So I do believe that he is going to be in their starting 5. And obviously that's a good problem for the Lakers to have. You want more and more depth as we get into the dog days of the NBA season. Injuries are going to come up, and you want to have guys that can play multiple positions for you in the playoffs if the Lakers were to get there. And the Nets asking price for Finney-Smith has long been a first round pick dating back to last season. They recently dropped the price to a lottery protected first, and then there was some buzz that the Memphis Grizzlies were considering meeting that price, but the Lakers became more aggressive with their offer in recent days. The Nets did like Maxwell Lewis in this deal, and then obviously we saw a deal go down early on Sunday morning on December 29th. And it also helps that the Lakers were able to keep Finney-Smith away from the Memphis Grizzlies, who are the 2nd seed in the Western Conference as of Sunday. And the Nets rebuild pretty much continues. They were winning way too many games this year to obviously end up in the top 5 in the lottery because of how well Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith were playing. Like I said earlier in the video, they recently traded Dennis Schroeder to the Golden State Warriors. They trade away Finney-Smith just to get these two off the team. They hope to be losing more and more games as the season goes along. This can now open up more minutes for some of their younger guys on the roster as well, and some more offensive and shooting touches just to see what they can get out of this young core. Since the Nets traded away Dennis Schroeder, they are 2-4 and have the 7th worst record in the NBA, and they are just trying to lose more and more games as the season goes along. They just had a late collapse against the Orlando Magic, and I know D'Angelo Russell can still be a fun offensive player, especially when he's going to now be one of the top scoring options in the Brooklyn Nets offense. It's going to be kind of entertaining to watch Cam Thomas and D'Angelo Russell go shot for shot in the second half of the year, when pretty much inevitably Cam Johnson is going to get traded. So yeah, I don't think they're going to win too many games with Cam Thomas and DLo being their top 2 scoring options, but it could definitely make for some entertaining basketball when they both two are on, because DLo doesn't really fit into their long-term plans at all, and they want to end up with somebody like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, or Dylan Harper in the 2025 draft. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if D'Angelo Russell is bought out if he's helping them win too many games, so we could see him on a different team, or maybe a team back in the Western Conference or an Eastern Conference team that is going to be playing in the playoffs. I expect them to buy out Ben Simmons and D'Angelo Russell. And I think Maxwell Lewis could be an interesting piece in this trade, because he was one of my favorite sleepers in the 2023 draft when he was picked number 40 out of Pepperdine to the Lakers, but he has barely played 130 minutes in the NBA in his 1.5 years after being drafted. He's a 6'7" wing who is a bit of a scorer and a decent shooter at Pepperdine, but he could also finish very well at the rim, and he's still only 22 years old, but he hasn't shot well in the G League so far. But I do think he's going to get a lot of time and a lot of opportunities with the Brooklyn Nets, and he could be a big winner from this deal. And obviously the Nets are acquiring more and more second round picks. They own a bunch of first round picks in the future, most notably from the Mikal Bridges trade, where they got an absolute haul there. They still have some of their first round picks that they got back from the Houston Rockets when they gave them the Suns picks that they got in the Kevin Durant trade. They have a Milwaukee Bucks first round pick this year that's probably going to be in the 20s. They're going to have another swap from the Knicks down the line, and a lot of their first round picks in the future. So the Nets are going to have more and more draft capital over the years. They could have 4 first round picks in this draft as well to add to their core, to hopefully have some somewhat of a more youthful foundation by getting one of the top guys in the 2025 draft and take multiple rookies that could build on the same timeline together, because I think they got their guy in Jordi Fernandez. He seems like a very good coach in this league, and the Nets are probably going to be a unwatchable team throughout the second half of the year, but this is exactly what they wanted. Let me know what you guys thought about this trade down below. Do you think it helps the Lakers at all? Does it move the needle? Or do they need to leverage this into a bigger deal down the line with those first round picks to build around Dorian Finney-Smith and obviously Reeves, LeBron, and AD? Because I'm very interested to see how this 2025 trade deadline looks like, because I think it's going to be a lot better than what we saw last year in 2024.